Adult humans make 35,000 decisions per day. Now, if that sounds staggering, listen to this. We change our mind 87% of the time. So the question is, how can we make decisions faster, better, and without depleting our cognitive resources? Because making 35,000 decisions per day is really exhausting. So here are 5 different methods from the greats that we will go into. The first is the OODA loop. This was developed originally by a military strategist for the United States Air Force, Colonel John Boyd. He created the system in order to be able to outmaneuver opponents based on quick, iterative decision making. It's observe, orient, decide, and act, and then repeat. First, observe. So observing your surroundings, understanding what you have to work with. Second, orient. Understanding where you are in relation to different threats, objectives, the different environment that surrounds you. Then you decide, quickly make a decision based on the information you have. And then fourth, act. And by going through this process, you are able to come to a quick decision. You understand, okay, that got us to a new point. Now let's repeat that process again. And so the idea is that you're able to quickly move and then make these quick decisions and keep moving agilely. This agile decision making in theory is supposed to make you move faster than your opponent. As a result, beat them to a different outcome that it might take you to. So you're making moves, you're taking action, and you're developing while your opponent might still be just going through a more heavy decision-making process. While it was originally developed for military applications, it has since been adopted into different industries like law enforcement, litigation, marketing, essentially any kind of space where quick decision-making is an advantage. Also, business management as a whole. Our second tactic is popularized by Jeff Bezos of Amazon, and that is type 1 versus type 2 decision-making. Essentially, the idea is that any decision can be categorized in either a type 1 decision or a type 2 decision. A type 1 decision is irreversible. You make it and it's a big deal, whereas the type 2 decision is something that can be reversible. You make the decision, you see where you are, you don't really like it, then you can go back or you can undo it. He defines that very often we mix up the two. For each type of decision, it requires different kind of decision making. So for type 1 decisions, which are very finite decisions, you need a lot of consideration about that because it's a big decision, it cannot be reversed. Do we sell the company or do we do the exit or the merger or something like that? In other words, what Jeff Bezos calls bet the company type of decision, whereas the type 2 decisions can be taken more lightheartedly. And he says that problems occur when people treat type 2 decisions with the same kind of gravitas as a type 1 decision, slowing the process of innovation, of development, of growth. So he says it's important to recognize what can be reversed and not take it so seriously. Whereas at the same time, he says it's problematic the other way around, when you approach type 1 decisions with the ease of a type 2 decision. Oh, whatever, it'll work out. We'll see how it goes. Step 1 is identifying, is this decision something that can be reversible if you don't like the outcome, or is it not? Jeff Bezos is famous for the saying that he only really strives to make 3 good decisions per day, because that is, in his opinion, all that he's really capable of. The third is the North Star principle, also known as the North Metric principle. Now, this is a kind of decision making which is centered around one factor that either you have defined for yourself or the organization has defined for itself as its one main goal. And every decision that is made, either personally for you or organization-wide, will this help me achieve my North Star mission or metric? And if the answer is yes, then you proceed and you do it. If it's not, then we do something else. This can look different. The North Star metric can look different for different organizations or personally, individually, if you're applying this rule to your own life. The North Star metric for a company might be achieving a certain amount of sales or becoming a startup becoming a unicorn, 1 million products sold, reaching a certain amount of high customer satisfaction level. Then each decision that is taken in the company strategically and also individually in teams and individuals working in it should know what that goal is and then can also change their activities and adapt their actions to support that North Star goal. Whatever that might be for you, then you can make decisions in your life based on, does this support my North Star? Yes or no? And that's that. The fourth is the Pareto principle, or the 80-20 model. Now, we've talked a lot about this before, but essentially it's the concept that 80% of your gains will be from 20% of action, or 80% of your income will come from 20% of your customers, and so on. If you understand and take the time to understand where the majority of your benefit is coming from, what those actions are that drive the majority of the outcome that you're hoping for, then you can decide to focus on those 20%. So for example, if I know that in my business, the majority of our income comes from a certain type of client, then instead of trying to serve everyone, I can decide with an informed decision that we should be focusing on that one type of customer that is driving the most of our revenue. And then that way we can get everyone on board and we don't have to worry about all the other stuff, which turns out is just taking away our focus from really making that big growth. And finally, our last framework is what is called Xanax for decision making. Now, this was developed by a CTO at a company who found that their engineers were having difficulty making decisions and streamlining decisions among them. So this CTO worked together with their coach to develop this framework. Here, we're going to need a visual help. Xanax for decision making is essentially an upgraded costs and benefits table. So we have benefits, then we have risk, then we have option 1, and then you have your option 2. You might have lots of options. These are like all of the different options that you have available to you in your decision. We can choose to go that route, or we can go that route or that route. For each, you decide, okay, so for this first option, what is the benefit? What is the risk? But what differentiates this model is that there's another cell, and that is mitigation. Now, the idea being that for any outcome, for any option that you choose to go for, you will have a set of benefits, and inevitably, there will also be risks that are associated with that option. That could be very fair, but then this framework foresees that you can better understand the risk by adding another section on mitigation. So understanding, are there any factors that mitigate that risk? There might be risk with this project because it's difficult to technically implement, but a mitigating risk might be that our team feels very strongly about this feature, about this service. Enthusiasm might mitigate the risk of it being technically difficult, because that will drive them to overcome that challenge. That way we can see that, okay, so option 1 actually isn't as risky as it originally looks like. And you can do that for every single option that you have, and then understand what is the true benefit and risk of each product, or rather of each possible outcome, because we can change it if we want to. So this is something that we can use in those everyday decisions, whereas if you've got one of those big bet the company decisions, then you might want to look a little bit further and a little deeper than this simple table. So those are our 5 different decision-making frameworks that are designed to help you take and make better decisions with less stress. So we hope that they're helpful for you, and we will see you next time.